Ezekiel chapter 26. In the 11th month of the 12th year, on the first day of the month, the word of the Lord came to me. Son of man, because Tyre has said of Jerusalem, Aha! The gate to the nations is broken, and its doors have swung open to me. Now that she lies in ruin, I will prosper. Therefore, this is what the sovereign Lord says. I am against you, Tyre, and I will bring many nations against you, like the sea casting up its waves. They will destroy the walls of Tyre and pull down her towers. I will scrape away her rubble and make her a bare rock. Out in the sea she will become a place to spread fish nets. For I have spoken, declares the sovereign Lord. She will become plunder for the nations, and her settlements on the mainland will be ravaged by the sword. Then they will know that I am the Lord. For this is what the sovereign Lord says. From the north I am going to bring against Tyre Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, king of kings, with horses and chariots, with horsemen and a great army. He will ravage your settlements on the mainland with the sword. He will set up siege works against you, build a ramp up to your walls, and raise his shield against you. He will direct the blows of his battering rams against your walls and demolish your towns with its weapons. His horses will be so many that they will cover you with dust. Your walls will tremble at the noise of the war horses, wagons, and chariots when he enters your gates, as men enter a city whose walls have been broken through. The hooves of his horses will trample all your streets. He will kill your people with the sword, and your strong pillars will fall to the ground. They will plunder your wealth and loot your merchandise. They will break down your walls and demolish your fine houses, and throw your stones, timber, and rubble into the sea. I will put an end to your noisy songs, and the music of your harps will be heard no more. I will make you a bare rock, and you will become a place to spread fish nets. You will never be rebuilt, for I, the Lord, have spoken, declares the sovereign Lord. This is what the sovereign Lord says to Tyre. Will not the coastlands tremble at the sound of your fall, when the wounded groan and the slaughter takes place in you? Then all the princes of the coast will step down from their thrones and lay aside their robes and take off their embroidered garments. Clothed with terror, they will sit on the ground, trembling every moment, appalled at you. Then they will take up a lament concerning you and say to you, how you are destroyed, city of renown, people by men of the sea. You were a power on the seas, you and your citizens. You put your terror on all who live there. Now the coastlands tremble on the day of your fall. The islands in the sea are terrified at your collapse. This is what the sovereign Lord says. When I make you a desolate city, like cities no longer inhabited, and when I bring the ocean depths over you, and its vast waters cover you, then I will bring you down with those who go down to the pit, to the people of long ago. I will make you dwell in the earth below as in ancient ruins, with those who go down to the pit. And you will not return or take your place in the land of the living. I will bring you to a horrible end, and you will be no more. You will be sought, but you will never again be found, declares the sovereign Lord. Amen. Amen. May the Lord bless the reading of his word. God, my mouth, I speak the message I prepare, that it be his message, not my message. That his will might be done, not mine. That he might receive more and honor, not I. That all those with ears might hear the words of the Lord. Amen. Amen. Scripture this morning is, as I said, from the book of Ezekiel, but Ezekiel is prophesying. Now what's interesting is he's prophesying against a people who wouldn't normally listen to him. Remember, he's, little question is where he is, but he's an Israelite. Normally, you listen to folks in your own neighborhood. He's yelling across the waters, as it were, to Tyre, speaking to them. Now, the time that he's addressing, the time that he's delivering this message, is either after or during the siege and fall of Jerusalem. There's a little question about the exact date for it. But the other interesting thing, like I said, is that he's speaking to some folks over here, but he's standing in the midst of a people who are suffering, who are under siege. One of the things is that when you're encountering sufferings and punishments, you have a tendency to sort of want to look beyond yourself and look at somebody else, and either you get jealous or sometimes you get angry that you're suffering and they're not, but you get jealous and you think, oh, wouldn't it be nice if I was like them? And the picture that I have here is that the folks in Jerusalem are suffering or have suffered, and so now they're trying to look around and they see Tyre, the city, and they think, wow, that's fantastic. See, like I said, I think it's this little interesting dynamic where Ezekiel's delivering this message to Tyre, but he really wants the people in Jerusalem to hear it. He's speaking to this place, but he really wants God's people, maybe the people who have had to leave Jerusalem or are suffering or being taken into the captivity, the Babylonian captivity for time. He wants them to reflect on what's going on in their own hearts as they look upon this other place. Because it's pretty clear, Tyre doesn't notice that Ezekiel's saying anything, but the people who are around him here. And so that's why I think it's helpful for us to read it today, and we need to hear it for us as God speaks to Tyre, not that we're Trinitarians. Tyre is this island off the coast of, I think, Turkey or Lebanon. It's up north of Israel. This little island, and being an island gives it all sorts of advantages. It has natural defenses. It has, it's easy to go get food. You just put some boats in the water and you go out and you get some fishing and bring them back. You don't have to mess around with any armies. They control the entire space, right? Because it's an island. They've got these walls around it and such. It's from this area, the Tyrian purple, that really expensive, the color that the emperors wear, comes from. It comes from these little mollusks, these little shellfish, like whelks or something, these little snails that they make the purple from. So that it gives them a lot of wealth, the fact that they're in this particular place. These are the folks who are the first peoples to travel around the Mediterranean. I know, in our day of cruise ships and jet planes, Ben and I were reflecting on how amazing it was that we traveled the amount of distance that we did, and the amount of time. It's an amazing thing. Anyway, these are the first guys, Tyrants are the first to go around the Mediterranean, because if you think about it, because they're an island city, they have to be good on boats. Right now, it's not that big a distance, so that, they're good at little boats, but you get a couple of guys with little boats, and one goes, I wonder how far I could take this, right? And so pretty soon, if he did it that far, I can go farther. And so, they eventually establish maritime trade. And one of the things that we know is the people who get there first make the most money, right? You want to read a story about somebody who was cleaning out their granddad's closet or something, and they found 6 shares of Berkshire Shirt Company. That's Berkshire Hathaway, but they got in on it when it was Berkshire Shirt Company, and that's worth a little bit of money. Anyway, you want to get there first if you want to make the profits, and so they had this empire or influence, this trading partnership before anybody else. So they've got some wealth and some power. And then, then these upstart Habiru people show up. These Israelites, after 400 years of slavery in Egypt, they sort of show up and start populating Israel and Jerusalem and such. And if you think about the Mediterranean, it's sort of shaped like a reverse Massachusetts. Right? If you think about Massachusetts, it's shaped. If you were drawing, let me design myself a harbor city, you know, you would draw in that sort of shape. You put Boston right in the middle, and that's why Boston is Boston, right? If you think about the Mediterranean and such, it's sort of the reverse of that. So that the right-handed, not the left-handed, and right in the middle is Israel. It's got a prime location for all sorts of ships. Not to mention the prime location of the Orient trade, the Silk Road and such. Everything going from Asia to Africa has got to go through Israel. Everything going from Africa to Europe has to go through Israel. Everything going on. It's well located. But now it's under siege. Now Nebuchadnezzar has come and laid siege, and it's about to fall. What's interesting is if you notice in your Bible, that's why. But in verse 7, it's actually not Nebuchadnezzar. In Ezekiel, it's Nebuchadnezzar. It's spelled a little bit different because Nebuchadnezzar is a tough name to spell. I mean, how did he get out of the first grade? But it's the same thing. So Nebuchadnezzar is there, and he's sieging, and Jerusalem is falling, and Tyre is looking, going, "All right, finally, we're gonna get back to where we were. Oh, we're gonna be able to, just send a couple ships over, and we're gonna be able to get all the spoils from that city." Remember, I think that this message is for the people who are suffering, and they're hearing it, and they're thinking, "Oh, everything we work for now is going to go nothing." They can hear the Tyrians all excited and happy, and they're coming for it. I think the first thing when we read this text we need to remember is when we are looking at someone else's suffering, we need to take warning from it and have compassion on them for their suffering, not gloating and celebrating and imitating. Right? It never ceases to amaze me. I yell at one of my kids for doing something bad, and another one thinks, "Well, that's a good idea. I should do that too." Now, some of you have told me growing up in large families that one of your advantages was that at a certain point you learned, hey, if the first and second and third and fourth and fifth one got yelled at for doing something stupid and it ended up yielding bad results, I maybe shouldn't do that. When we look at someone else's suffering, remember the people are suffering because they have sort of brought it on themselves. They've abandoned the God of Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Sarah, Rebekah, Rachel, and Leah. They forgot who brought them to the dance. And so they've decided to go their own way, and God says, "Hey, I'm still here. Remember?" And so the suffering that they have, Nebuchadnezzar, is a punishment upon them from God. And instead of sort of looking at it saying, "Ooh, that's bad, I don't want to do that," the tyrants are like, "Hey, yeah, all right, this is more for me." You and I have people that we look at in their situations and we see them suffering, and instead of trying to analyze it and see how we can steer clear, we just think, "Boy, I'm glad that's not happening to me. I'm going to take what I've got and try and leverage it. I'm going to use my power and privilege to keep it up." Instead of taking the health and the strength and the security that we have and trying to help them with it. Remember, we're Christians. We say we're little Christs. Jesus doesn't sit up in heaven on a cloud, playing a harp, looking down at humanity saying, "Boy, they're suffering an awful lot. I think I'll just sit back up here and watch this train wreck." He gives up his power and privilege. He says, "I want to love them, and I'll come alongside them. Bless them as much as I can. I'm willing to identify with them." I think that's something that we read this and we need to remember the dynamic that's going on. The second thing I think we should read this and see, and again in the Hebrew there's some lovely language that gets used, is the things that make us strong, the things that we rejoice in when we have them and everything's going right, are wickedly painful when they're turned against us. I mean, all the language about the seas and the deeps and the waves, the tyrants have been celebrating the fact that they're an island fortress. Their strength is the depth of the sea and the waves, and it makes it really hard to carry a battering ram when the water's up to here. Well, it's a whole different story if those waves get turned against you. They're an island people. Fishing is their big thing. They can get all this food from it. And what does God say? I'm going to turn you into a place just for fish nets. Remember in the ancient world, and up until fairly recently, until you get water-resistant fabrics, when you got something wet, you had to get it dry. That's why you have all these towers for fire departments around, that you need some place to hang the hoses so that they can dry, because cotton jackets rot. Natural fibers, if they stay wet, so you have to spread out the fish nets. You need a laundry line, as it were, and so big flat rock is helpful. God says He's going to make this city, this powerful, important, beautiful, it's just going to be a big old rock. It's going to spread out your fish nets up. Good enough for doing laundry. You know that Hawaii was first used for laundry? People used to send laundry to Hawaii and then bring it back. I mean, think about camping out in a laundromat. Lord, please. The things that the tyrants have celebrated are going to be their downfall, or their symbols of their downfall. They have this interesting relationship. Their strength, again, it's an island city, but part of their strength is that they've got a colony on the mainland. Usu, I can't remember. That's where they would get water, that's where they would get wood, and that's where they would bury their dead. Three things that an island city needs. And he says, no, I'm going to turn those against you. I'm going to destroy those. That's going to be the leaping off point. Instead of supporting you, it's going to undercut you. This week I've been talking to churches that, their strength has been their cultural significance, their establishment, their prominence in the city, in a particular place. And as culture has sort of shifted, they're losing that strength is now being turned into a weakness. We've been dealing with this in New England for a lot longer. How many big city churches can we think of that were big, beautiful establishments that built these gigantic buildings, and now, are trying to cover a $100,000 heating bill? A lot of times we have things that we get prideful about. God uses those particular things to strike at us. It hurts. Think about that. But the third thing that I think is helpful as we read this, and again, we know how the story ends. We know what happens to Tyre. We know what happens to Jerusalem. We know we can fit this into its greater context. Is that the destruction of God is total. But the punishment of God is painful and may feel like it's totally destructive, but it has redemption at the end of it, at the goal of it, the telos in Greek. And this is an important thing for us to remember. The destruction of God is total. When was the last time you saw a dinosaur roaming around? When God wants to destroy something, it's gone. Tyre, as a city, is now just a place that people go and visit if they like ruins, if they're interested in history. It was the sort of city that requires 3 chapters of Ezekiel to address it. I mean, it's a big, important place. Like I said, it's the standard bearer for wealth in the ancient world. And now it's just ruins. Jerusalem, sacked attacked and sieged and destroyed by the same guy, Nebuchadnezzar. Its people go into captivity for 70 years. But Jerusalem is still a place of importance. It's still something that people are talking about. Not, and one of the things I'm always interested in when I watch touristy, pictures and stuff of Jerusalem, what I love about Jerusalem, because we tend to think about things in our own way, but it's fun to see the tourist groups from Japan and Korea and China and India in Jerusalem. Because Jerusalem is a place that people go to from all over the world. It's a place that's important. Think about all the churches all around the world who this morning are talking to some degree about Israel. Whether it's where Jesus walked and did this thing or that thing, or they're reading Hebrew Bible and the history of Israel. It still has significance. It still has a role because God was punishing them. But He wasn't destroying them. See, God has a plan for Jerusalem. He's not done with me. God has a plan for the Jewish people, for the Israelites. He's not done with them. They will suffer. They will face challenges. They will face trials. Some of them will die. But He has a plan for them. He's got something else besides just destroying them. And so, one of the things we need to remember is that God has a plan for you and for me, no matter what sort of things we go through. If you're still breathing, God, because if God wanted you dead, you'd be dead. He's got plenty of opportunity, plenty of things. You're still breathing, God has a plan for you. God has an end for you that He wants to see. And He brings that about through all the challenges and things that we face. See, redemption for the world comes through death and suffering and the loss of His Son. Redemption for you and I is played out in this life that we live, and that we face all sorts of things that we'd rather not. We face all sorts of things in our lives that we think, oh, this is it. It's all over. God doesn't love me anymore. I've been at those points when you get angry with God. I'm sure the people of Jerusalem got to that place. But He's not done with that. God's not done with you or me either. God isn't done with His Son when He puts Him in that tomb. Redemption comes. Salvation comes. It doesn't make all the stuff that happens good or easy or fun or exciting. But there gets to be a point where we recognize, oh, maybe we're a little different than tired. We need to see that thing in order to learn something about what's going on with us. And there may be some similarities, but God still is concerned for us and has a plan for